In another world, heroes were chosen, born blessed by the gods, armed with skills that could shape the fate of nations. But not him. Before destiny ever whispered his name, he was just an ordinary man, a background character in his own life. No fame, no talent, no future. Just another face in the crowd. He worked. He slept. He dreamed of being something greater. And when that dream finally came, it wasn't mercy that answered. A blinding light split the sky, and in an instant, everything he knew was gone. No pain, no sound, only the weightless silence between worlds. Voices echoed in the void, ancient, commanding, divine. Another human soul, summoned. He tried to speak, but his voice dissolved into the light. Flashes of armor, banners, and magic circles burned behind his eyelids. He could feel his body forming again, bones from fire, skin from wind, a heart from fear itself. When his eyes opened, he wasn't home anymore. A marble floor stretched beneath him, glowing with sigils older than time. Figures in golden robes stared down, priests, nobles, and one woman whose gaze was colder than steel. "Welcome, new hero," she said. "Step forward and receive your class." He did. And in that moment, as the divine seal flared beneath his feet, the system whispered 3 words that changed everything. "No class detected." Gasps echoed through the marble hall. The light that had once glowed gold around the summoning circle faded to ash gray. A priest dropped his staff. Another murmured a prayer that even the gods refused to hear. The boy stood at the center, barefoot, confused, his breath fogging in the cold air. All around him, nobles stared from their thrones of silver and stone. And among them stood 3 other figures, warriors radiant with divine light, armor gleaming like sunrise. The chosen heroes. "No class detected," the system repeated, its voice echoing through the chamber. Whispers rippled through the crowd. "A summoning error? He's defective. Throw him out before the king arrives." He didn't understand. Just moments ago, he'd been told he was chosen, summoned to save a world. Now, he was being treated like a mistake. The high priest stepped forward, robes brushing the floor. His tone was calm, but his eyes were cold. "The divine system makes no errors. If you have no class, you have no worth." The boy tried to protest, but his words drowned beneath laughter. One of the armored heroes, a tall man with a holy sigil etched across his chest, smirked. "A hero without a class? That's like a sword without a blade." Laughter spread, cruel and effortless. Even the nobles joined in. Every chuckle pressed heavier against his chest until the air itself seemed to mock him. He clenched his fists. The light beneath his feet flickered. For a brief moment, the summoning circle responded, faint lines of energy tracing across the marble. But before it could awaken, the high priest slammed his staff. The light vanished. "Remove him," the priest commanded. "Let him learn that not all souls are chosen." Guards grabbed his arms. He was dragged across the floor, the laughter following him like a curse. He looked up once, at the other heroes still basking in glory, and whispered to himself, "If the gods don't see me, then I'll make them look." And with that, the doors to the chamber slammed shut, sealing away the mistake that would one day reshape their world. The doors slammed shut behind him, echoing through the marble halls like thunder. Outside the chamber, the world was colder, not just in air, but in spirit. 2 guards pushed him into the courtyard, where the light of the summoning faded into pale daylight. He stumbled, catching himself on his hands. The golden sigils that had once wrapped his body were gone. Only faint, gray lines remained, like the scars of something unfinished. "A failed summon," one guard muttered. "That's a first." "Keep your distance," said the other. "Wouldn't want the defect rubbing off." They turned and left him there, barefoot, nameless, forgotten. For a long time, he just stared at the ground. He tried to open the system window the priest had shown him, the glowing interface that revealed the hero's stats, skills, destiny. Nothing happened. No level. No abilities. No title. Just one blank line. "Class, none." The words burned deeper than any wound. He clenched his fist, but even that felt powerless. He tried shouting, at the sky, at the gods, at whatever force had decided his worth, but the only answer was the wind. "You brought me here, for what?" he whispered. "To humiliate me? To laugh at me?" From beyond the courtyard walls came the sound of celebration. Trumpets. Cheers. The chosen heroes paraded before the city, hailed as saviors of the realm. He could see them from where he stood, radiant in gold and white, their capes fluttering in the light. And then he saw her, the woman from the chamber, her expression calm and cruel. She watched him from the balcony, as if observing a broken toy. When their eyes met, she smiled. "Even the gods reject the weak," she said. "Be grateful we spared your life." He didn't answer. He couldn't. He simply turned away. Each step took him further from the palace, from the cheers, from everything he thought he'd become. The world outside the capital was harsh, a wasteland of cracked soil and dry wind. He walked until his feet bled, until the light in the sky dimmed into gray. He had no weapon, no map, no name anyone cared to remember. And yet, something inside him refused to break. Beneath the exhaustion, beneath the shame, a spark still burned, faint, but alive. He looked at his empty hand, the same one that once glowed during the summoning. It was still trembling, but not from fear. From rage. "If I wasn't born with power," he whispered, "then I'll find it myself." He raised his hand toward the dying sun. And for just a moment, the faintest glimmer of blue light pulsed beneath his skin. The world had cast him aside. But the system had made one mistake. It had assumed that a man without a class couldn't change the rules. The city gates loomed behind him like the jaws of some sleeping beast, ancient stone engraved with holy sigils, glowing faintly under the morning light. Beyond them lay nothing but wasteland. Two guards stood watch, their expressions fixed somewhere between disgust and pity. One tossed him a torn cloak, the other a small loaf of bread. Neither spoke a word. "The kingdom has no place for a mistake," one finally said. "Take that as mercy." He nodded, not out of gratitude, but because words had lost their meaning. The gates groaned open, slow and heavy. The sound carried through the air like a funeral bell. As he stepped across the threshold, something inside him shifted. The castle behind him, the marble halls, the banners, the laughter, all of it seemed smaller now. He realized he hadn't just been thrown out. He'd been reborn, not by light, but by rejection. Wind tore at his cloak as he moved forward, dust curling around his legs. The capital faded behind him, swallowed by fog. Every step felt heavier, but he didn't stop. "No class?" he murmured to himself. "No destiny. No gods watching." For the first time, he smiled, not with joy, but defiance. Hours passed. The road dissolved into dirt, then stone, then nothing at all. His stomach growled. His throat burned. The bread was gone before he even realized he'd eaten it. At sunset, he reached a cliff overlooking a vast, dying forest. The horizon was bathed in orange light, and for a brief moment, he let himself breathe. In that silence, he thought he heard something, faint, mechanical, deep within his mind. A sound like the echo of a forgotten system command. "Data anomaly detected." He blinked. Nothing. Just the wind. Just his imagination. He laughed quietly. "Even broken things make noise sometimes." He pulled the cloak tighter around his shoulders and looked toward the dark line of trees. "If the world doesn't want me," he said, "then I'll build my own." And with that, the nameless hero stepped into the wilderness, not knowing that the forest ahead would be the place where his power truly awakens. Night fell fast. The forest was alive, not with peace but hunger. Eyes glimmered between the trees, red and low to the ground. Somewhere in the distance, a wolf howled. The boy, nameless still, trudged forward through the undergrowth. Every step sank into mud, every breath tore through his chest like sandpaper. He'd lost track of time. He didn't even know which direction he was walking anymore. only that he had to. The moon was his only light. It hung like a coin above the trees, silver and cold, watching. Branches clawed at his cloak, leaving small cuts across his arms. He ignored the pain. He found a stream, barely deep enough to drink from. The water tasted like rust and roots, but it was water. For a moment, he sat down and let himself feel it. The burn in his throat, the ache in his legs, the echo of laughter still ringing from the castle. "No class, no skills," he whispered. "So what?" He looked at his reflection in the dark water. He barely recognized the face staring back, pale, cracked, and furious. Then something caught his eye. A faint shimmer beneath the surface. Symbols. The same glowing lines from the summoning circle, flickering for just an instant. He reached out, and the light vanished. But something else remained, a quiet pulse in his chest, steady and rhythmic, like a heartbeat that didn't belong to him. Leaves rustled behind him. He turned. Two wolves stepped from the shadows, their teeth glinting under moonlight. Their growls blended into the whisper of the wind. He didn't run. He didn't even flinch. For the first time since arriving in this world, he felt something that wasn't fear. "If I die here," he said softly, "then at least I'll know what I am." The first wolf lunged. He rolled aside, the beast's claws slicing through the air where he'd stood. Instinct, raw, desperate instinct, took over. He grabbed a broken branch and drove it into the wolf's side. The creature yelped, stumbled, and fell. The second wolf hesitated, too late. The boy turned, eyes glowing faintly blue. The pulse in his chest surged. A sound, mechanical, divine, echoed again in his mind. "Gotcha protocol, initializing." He froze. The world around him seemed to slow, reality bending as tiny fragments of light rose from the wolf's corpse. He didn't understand it yet, but he could feel it. Something ancient and infinite had just awakened. And for the first time, he wasn't powerless. Silence. The forest stood still, frozen between breaths. Tiny sparks of blue light drifted upward from the slain wolf. Not smoke, not magic, something older. Each fragment shimmered like glass, rising, waiting. The boy stared, transfixed. His body ached, his mind screamed, yet somewhere inside that chaos, he felt clarity. The light recognized him. It answered him. "System anomaly confirmed," a voice whispered, mechanical and calm. "Gotcha protocol unlocked." He stumbled backward. "Who's there?" No answer. Only a pulse, steady, in sync with his heartbeat. Blue sigils formed in the air before him, spinning, expanding, shaping themselves into a glowing ring. For a moment, the forest was illuminated, trees casting giant shadows, the wolves' eyes fading into the dark. He reached toward the circle, fingers trembling. The instant he touched it, energy surged through his veins like lightning. He screamed. The pain was blinding. Every muscle in his body tensed as the ring expanded, symbols flaring brighter than fire. A voice filled the air, calm, ancient, and absolute. "Welcome, user. You have activated unlimited gotcha." He dropped to his knees, gasping. Images flashed through his mind. Cities in ruins, thrones of crystal, armies of shadow. Weapons. Armor. Souls. Everything spinning around a single word, summon. What is this?" he whispered. "A system without class. Without restriction," the voice replied. "An error, elevated to command." The circle pulsed again. Light gathered around him, forming another sigil, larger, sharper, alive. He didn't know what he was doing, but the instinct felt natural, as if the command had always been a part of him. "Summon," he whispered. The air split apart. A column of light erupted skyward, shaking the trees, scattering the birds into the night. Wind tore through the clearing, pulling leaves, dirt, and fragments of stone into the air. When the brilliance faded, she stood before him. A woman, tall, radiant, silver hair flowing like water. Her armor glowed faintly blue, runes etched along its surface like veins of light. Her eyes met his, calm, ancient, unflinching. She knelt. "I am May," she said softly. "Summoned through your command. My level is 9999. The world seemed to hold its breath. He couldn't speak. Could barely think. The voice in his head returned one last time. "Summon complete. First unit acquired." May's gaze softened as she rose. "You bear the mark of the anomaly," she said. "A soul without chains. That makes you dangerous." He almost laughed, broken, breathless laughter that carried disbelief and awe in equal measure. "Dangerous? I was thrown away like garbage. And yet," she said, stepping closer, "the world just bent to your will." He looked at his hands, still trembling, the faint glow of the gacha sigil pulsing beneath his skin. For the first time since he'd arrived in this world, he felt something powerful, not just hope, but ownership. "They called me worthless," he said quietly. "Then let's show them what nothing can do." May nodded, her armor humming with quiet energy. Above them, the moon shifted behind clouds, casting their shadows long and sharp across the ground. And deep beneath the forest floor, something stirred, ancient machinery, dormant magic, the gears of fate grinding into motion. The anomaly had awoken, and the world would never be the same again. The forest had fallen silent after the summoning, a silence so thick it felt sacred. But the stillness didn't last. Branches snapped in the distance. Growls echoed from every direction, deeper this time, heavier. The wolves had returned. Not 2, not 10, but a pack. Dozens of eyes glowed between the trees, surrounding them like flickering embers. The boy, his pulse still racing from the summoning, stepped back, instinct screaming to run. But May didn't move. She lifted her head, silver hair swaying, her armor gleaming in the faint blue light from his sigil. "Permission to engage, Master?" He blinked. "And Master?" "Your order," she replied calmly. "I am bound to your command." Another growl. Then movement. The first wolf lunged, teeth bared, claws outstretched. Before it could touch him, May was gone. A blur of silver and light cut through the air. When she reappeared, the wolf was already falling, body dissolving into blue dust before it hit the ground. The others hesitated, just long enough for her to move again. Every strike was clean. Every movement precise. She fought like a storm in human form, each blow cracking the earth, each motion trailing light. The boy could only watch. Half in awe. Half in disbelief. He clenched his fist. "That power, that's mine?" May landed beside him, her blade humming with residual energy. "Not yours," she said softly. "Ours." The remaining wolves circled closer. This time, he didn't back away. He raised his hand, the sigil on his palm flaring to life. The same pulse from before returned, steady and controlled. "Gotcha protocol," he said, voice trembling but sure. "Summon weapon." The air shimmered. From the blue light, a weapon formed, a simple blade, forged from the same energy as May's armor. It wasn't elegant, but it felt right. He stepped forward, heart pounding. The nearest wolf charged. He met it halfway, steel against fawn. When the strike connected, light exploded outward, cutting through shadow and sound alike. When the smoke cleared, the forest was still again. He stood there, chest heaving, blade glowing faintly in his hand. For the first time, he'd fought, and won. May sheathed her sword and bowed her head. "Your first victory, Master." He looked at his hands, the faint tremor still there, not from fear, but from realization. "No class?" he whispered. "No limits." Dawn crept over the forest, pale and uncertain. The light filtered through mist, catching the edges of broken branches and the faint blue dust left behind by the wolves. The boy sat beside the dying campfire, his new blade resting across his knees. May stood a few paces away, still as a statue, watching the horizon. Her armor had dimmed, the glow from her runes fading to a soft silver hum. "You're quiet," he said at last. "I am observing," she replied. "The world is reacting." He frowned. "Reacting to what?" "To you." She turned, her gaze sharp but calm. The summoning of a unit without divine registration should be impossible. Yet your power bypassed the system's hierarchy entirely. The gods, the kingdoms, the hero registry, all will feel it. He exhaled slowly, staring into the fire. So they'll come looking for me. Inevitable, she said. Power creates ripples. Even in silence, someone will hear the noise. The forest groaned as a breeze swept through, carrying the faint toll of a distant bell. Far beyond the trees, in a cathedral city bathed in gold, that very bell rang again, once then twice. Priest froze mid-prayer. Crystals flickered. An ancient console, dormant for centuries, began to display unreadable lines of blue code. Anomaly detected. Gotcha protocol, active. The high priest from the chamber turned, his expression hardening. So it survived, he whispered. The broken one. Back in the forest, May tilted her head as if listening to something only she could hear. The first wave has begun, she said softly. He looked up, confused. What wave? Her eyes glowed faintly, not with power, but warning. The one that ends kingdoms. Night returned like a whisper. The fire had burned down to embers, their faint orange glow flickering across his face. The forest was still again, save for the steady rhythm of May's breathing, calm, mechanical, almost human. He sat in silence, the sword resting beside him, the sigil on his hand pulsing faintly with every heartbeat. Each flash reminded him of what he'd done, the light, the summoning, the voice that had called him. Master. It didn't feel real. It didn't feel earned. I didn't ask for this, he murmured. Power rarely waits for permission, May replied. He glanced at her. She stood at the edge of the camp, her eyes reflecting the moonlight. When I was brought here, he said quietly, they called me worthless. Maybe they were right. Worthless men do not rewrite divine laws, she said simply. He almost smiled. Almost. The silence stretched again. Above them, the moon drifted behind clouds, and for a moment, darkness swallowed the clearing. He felt it then, the faint hum beneath the soil, the breath of the world itself reacting to him. Every leaf, every gust of wind, every living thing knew something had changed. He looked at his hands, human, trembling, scarred. The power beneath his skin was quiet now, but it was there, waiting. If I'm not a hero, he said softly, then what am I? May didn't answer. But as the wind shifted and the first light of dawn returned, she looked at him, not as a master, but as something else entirely. You, she said, are becoming. Dawn was breaking again. The forest shimmered in the pale light, every drop of dew glinting like glass. To the east, faint smoke curled from the horizon, not campfire smoke, but civilization. He stood at the edge of a cliff, overlooking the valley below. The air smelled of iron and rain. May stood beside him, arms crossed, scanning the distant landscape. That's a city, he said quietly. A border settlement, she replied. Low security. High corruption. He smirked. Sounds familiar. Behind them, the forest still bore the scars of their battle, scorch marks, shattered stone, faint wisps of blue energy still fading into the air. The world had begun to notice. And somewhere far away, others were already moving.